turn your internet connection off, run, go back to paper. No, I joke. I think if you've missed the deadline, the same applies to those that have already migrated. Do the planning, highlight to your executives the need to change now. Maybe it isn't budgeted, maybe it is something that you think you can just defer. But I think the risk of exposure and the vulnerabilities that potentially will be exploited in Windows 10 means that you need to act quickly. Going through November into December for some organizations, a quiet time, take advantage of that to get ahead in terms of the plan and make sure you've got a robust plan in terms of how you're going to complete that migration.
It's quite easy to think now that the deadline's passed, take a breath and, oh, we've got more time. Really, that's the wrong way to approach this. We should really be looking at how you can accelerate. So, okay, we're in the position we're in, but now whether we were doing this a year before or we're actually past the deadline, it's, as James said, exactly the same process, but we need to do it in an accelerated fashion so that we reduce the risk on our IT estate of leaving it in that legacy mode. So consequently, again, it's all about data. So it's the foundational inventory, it's understanding what you have, what can we move over to Windows 11 fastest, and where is the more complex end of that tail that we can put towards the back, but get the majority of those devices over in as quickly as possible to reduce that risk.
Call us today. It's not too late to make that migration happen. I think you're not alone would be my kind of comfort message to you, that there are a number of organizations that have maybe started but not completed. They have a long tail of problematic devices. Start now, plan your mitigation action and your final stages of the migration. And I think that Capgemini and Juriba together can help you accelerate through that migration phase to get you to a point where you're compliant and in a well-maintained Windows 11 environment.
From a Juriba perspective, I think the key foundation is the data. So understanding what you have today, there's some good inventory tools that we pull from that give us an immediate picture of what you have and what the scope of this program of work's going to be. So consequently, when you wrap the Capgemini services around the original inventory and then the actioning of that data, you can actually, with all of the experience that we've got together, come up with a playbook effectively within a tool that then accelerates that entire migration, and we can get to very high volumes very quickly within the service that can be provided. So it's interesting because adoption has been a lot slower on Windows 11 than it was for Windows 10 and Windows 7 before that. I think primarily because of the Microsoft messaging around how easy this was going to be and how much you could do it as a business as usual task. But organisations still have quite often struggled with maintaining their environment to a point where it has been easy to transition. Consequently, quite a lot of companies have needed a project, and hence the ability to adopt it as fast as they wanted to hasn't been possible, and we've needed a program of work around it.
Windows 11 has become a bit of a forgotten project as well, with all of the noise around co-pilots in the last year. I think some of the attention that was focused on it before has shifted elsewhere, and as a result it's kind of been a little bit forgotten, and I think that's why a number of organisations are playing catch up right now. The philosophy around refresh and Windows refresh is moving forwards exactly as it needed to. More of a focus on continuous refresh, that the operating system updates become much more seamless over time. From a conceptual point of view, it is exactly the right direction to go, and we begin to see that happening. But the reality is there's still the effort required, the planning, the preparation, the communication with the business and application owners to make that happen. So I see a number of organisations really embracing it and move quickly, and actually it's been a really smooth transition to Windows 11. I see other organisations that have maybe lost focus on some of those core principles of preparation, planning, testing and communication that makes it successful. So I think we're in a kind of in-between phase right now between how we used to do it and how we all believe we should do it in the future.
It's certainly the philosophy was that that you would be doing in-place updates, that this would all be seamless to the end user. The reality for a lot of organisations is that they want to fix a lot of other things at the same time. So maybe they want to move platforms, maybe they also want to refresh the hardware, maybe they want to virtualise things at the same time, and consequently that makes things a lot more complex. So as a result, you really need to be planning that migration so that you end up at the right outcome, with new technology and new processes that position you much better for maintenance in the future, so that the next one won't be such a large task. Over the past few years, we've always done this as a large project. It's always had a large investment. We've always had separate teams managing applications, device lifecycle, the interdependencies, the communications. This time, there's less risk around things like applications not working on Windows 11. So consequently, we can move faster, but we still need to move fast with the right logistics behind that, so that end users are fully informed as to what's happening and when to their devices, and therefore we can have a much more successful outcome when they get their new device or they get their new upgrade, with everything still working as it did in the past.
Yeah, I think that communications is the key, and where we've been working with Barry and Juriba to make sure that we plan correctly for this particular catch-up project that many organisations are doing, and then putting the steps in place to make sure in the future it's much more business as usual, as we've been saying. So my advice would be to do what you need to do now to reach that October deadline, but then take a step back and say, right, how do we put these steps that we do in a project phase into our run organisation so it becomes an everyday task that we manage and maintain in the same way we do other kind of workplace management activities.
Yeah, there's a lot less pitfalls than there were with previous migrations, but there's still a few. The first one being that certain hardware just simply doesn't support Windows 11. The second one being that although application compatibility is much, much better than it was in previous migrations, there are still applications that won't work with Windows 11 that might need remediating, or that just need moving up to later versions because the vendors no longer support them on that particular platform. The other gotchas really are all around the process for migration. So if you don't put a good, slick, repeatable process in place for migration, then it's going to take you longer. It's as simple as that. So I think if you miss or you avoid those three things, then you're going to be in a good position.
I think from a managed service point of view, the risk is being caught between two points of view. Number one, we're just going to do this quickly and we're going to do it as is. It feels like a missed opportunity to manage your workplace in a more effective, efficient way. On the other hand, you could invest too much in moving to modern management and to updating your management platform and policies that you end up adding delays to the project. So I think it's really, really important that you're clear at the outset. Is it purely speed, and then you make time and project space in the future to modernise how you're doing your management overall? Or are you going to use this as that trigger point to deliver your managed workplace in a different way?
There's two key things that customers can do right now. Number one is to understand the hardware estate, what devices need refreshing and replacing, and which ones can move forward. And then the second one is around applications. So depending on your approach to application testing, do you need to test all of the apps? Do you want to test some of the critical apps? Are you prepared to take a risk-based approach? We offer within the service that Capgemini provide a smoke testing opportunity for each application to have quick install, launch and uninstall test in Windows 11, spot the issues very, very fast, and then flag those issues so that we know exactly what needs remediating and what doesn't. That can then feed into whether you're a green for migration or not.
I agree very much, Barry. I think the only thing I would add is the communication plan. So everything is ready to go. The update is fully automated in most deployments today, but it still takes time. So whether it's going to happen when you're in the middle of a meeting or visiting a customer, that preparation, that planning, that communications, I think is the other thing that I would do in conjunction with the technical readiness, just to make sure everything goes smoothly. I think the key learnings that we've seen from the projects we've done, and it's really built on the previous Windows 10 projects and before that, is that with the correct planning, and as Barry has said earlier, the correct data, you can move quickly. So we have a particular customer case together that we've worked on where the customer believed it would be a 9-month project. And when we looked at the data and we did the analysis, we believed with confidence that we could deliver it in 3 months. And that's exactly what we did. So I think that preparation, that planning, and everything that we've learned through the years in doing this means we can move far quicker than sometimes we would anticipate, but it requires the business buy-in and stakeholders to be fully aligned at the outset.
Yeah, just totally agree with what James is saying. We can move a lot quicker now because we have the right experience and the right tools to enable us to do so. So with communications plans, with readiness tracking, with automation of deployments, all of these things in place, you can actually move very, very fast. And so therefore, companies can go from A to B without the sorts of efforts that they needed to for previous migrations.
I think we all talk about consumer experience. The reality is when we're in the workplace, often employees expect a higher level of experience. The refresh needs to happen seamlessly. I need to know when it's going to happen. I need to know that when it completes, I can carry on working and everything is going to be there. So we're very used to updates in our home life, whether it's the child's PlayStation or a television or my iPhone. But when it's a work context, it really is important that I know when it's going to happen, that I don't need to do anything, and that when I log back in for that first time, my applications, my data, the next meeting I need to jump into is there. So for me, it's about shaping that experience, and Barry and I have talked about this a lot, how we bring that to life in terms of the planning cycle.
Engaging the end users in the process has been the biggest learning that we've all had over the last 5 or 10 years when we talk about big OS migrations. You know, if you're in more control of booking your slot for your update or booking your slot to go and get your laptop, it's a much better experience immediately because you feel like you're the one making the decision. You're not having this pushed on you like we used to feel in the past. And so consequently, having that ability to engage the end user, whether it's surveys, continuous emails around what's happening next and why, what a change might look like when you get your new machine, and making that all seamless is really the thing that improves the perception of these programs no end. And I think we've seen countless successful projects now where the feedback for pretty much the first time has been, this happened on time, on budget, and all of our customers were happy. And that is something that's a great outcome compared to the history of what we used to be able to achieve.
So I think the way we've done migrations has continuously changed over time. Today and in the old days, a lot of projects were delivered based on plans in Microsoft Excel or in Project, generic plans that required a lot of customization. Today with Juriba, we have a standard framework and playbook that we've both developed, and that enables us to deliver the project in a consistent way, but bring that speed and that quality to the migration experience. And that's what we've focused on. And I don't think it should just be for OS upgrades, whether it's a move to virtual desktop and virtualization in the cloud with device as a service, or maybe it's application rationalization or other updates. I think the principles, the playbooks, and the ability to use the Juriba platform in our services really enriches the quality of that project experience.
I think the collaboration between the two parties has really moved and matured the whole OS migration sphere in terms of what we can achieve and how fast we can achieve it. So about a year or two ago, we brought to market an assessment service that meant we could very, very quickly identify what needs moving, what's compatible, what isn't compatible, who the best users to move first are going to be, and then wrapping that with services around logistics and communications and getting things ready by business unit or location across the globe, all of those things in a single platform with singular command and control means that we can just do things at a scale that we could never do before. And we automate so much more these days than we used to as well. And by working together on basically the outcomes that customers want, we can really drive towards those outcomes, but using a combination of experience and tooling that I think has really matured and allows us to achieve some great results.
Innovation within the workplace right now is kind of at a peak, particularly around OS migration, the ability to bring data into the equation to both plan the migration, to understand where there's potential gaps and blockers, but also what we're beginning able to do as well is to bring the experience-based refresh model to life as well. So looking at when a device needs to be refreshed based on the experience of the employee. So when we think about sustainability and circularity, the ability to only refresh devices when there's a compelling reason, like an OS update event, or when there's a need to improve the experience score for that particular employee is super, super exciting. And I think that combination of data, the experience we've got in terms of the platform, and then things like Gen AI and some of the new use cases opens up lots of possibilities for the future.
There's so many areas of innovation now in the service. I think the key ones for me have been around the user experience, whether it's being able to survey more effectively, communicate more effectively, engage the end user in the process itself. These are all radical changes to how these things were done in the past. Equally, there's areas of automation that are possible now that we weren't able to do, and the ability to assess for things like modern platform change. So, which platform should a user now be on based on their persona at work, or the location, or the role that they're actually providing within that workplace, allows us to tailor the migrations really almost per user, so that we can start to get everyone into the right state moving forwards for exactly what they need when they need it.
So the Capgemini service for accelerated OS migration is able to very quickly come in and analyze your kind of current mode of operation. We do the data analysis to look at your hardware, your software, and the requirements of your business. And then we can very quickly, with the team at Juriba, build you a migration plan and then execute that. So we really have an end-to-end service that we can bring in and move quickly and execute on your behalf. But similarly, if you are already midway through a project and you need the injection of experience and expertise, we can also do that as well. The relationship between Capgemini and Juriba has grown really close. We see a huge value in the Juriba platform and capabilities that Barry and his team have built, and we've built our services around it. So it's now an integral part of how we take a high quality project experience to our customers. So always, I think, jointly thinking about the customer first and what is the outcome of the project we're delivering. We're able to show and give confidence and build trust that the platform we've got from Juriba and the service wrapper we've built really around it will deliver that expectation and outcome from the OS migration piece that customers expect.
It's all about the customer. Customers need an outcome, and they need, the services to deliver that, the experience to deliver that, and the tooling to deliver that. Whether it's a lift and shift type migration, or whether it's actually positioning you for the future to be able to maintain that environment more effectively, to move platforms in the future to the cloud, virtualization, and new technologies. And so consequently, I think the collaboration has been not just about projects, but also about what does this look like for the future digital workplace. And that's the thing that I think is really exciting moving forward for the customers, because we can really start to think about how we can innovate in this managed services space. The biggest anecdote that I love to hear is that we delivered on time, we delivered on budget, or ahead of time and ahead of budget, and that we had a great user experience while we did so. So there's been a number of customers that we've delivered with Capgemini where we've been able to achieve all three of those things. And from a customer perspective, you just want this, it's a necessary evil, the OS migration. You want it done as seamlessly as possible. And if we can help facilitate that, then that's as happy as I can be.
Yeah, I agree. And I think from a design principle, we wanted the update to be seamless. So hearing from customers where they didn't even realize that they'd moved to Windows 11 is kind of the perfect outcome. And I guess the other anecdote that we hear is that we're obviously working in a very hybrid world right now, that the update happened at home. So I think that combination of employees and end users not realizing it has happened is kind of the biggest compliment that we've achieved our goal.